While some former Yu-Gi-Oh players might assume that modern Yu-Gi-Oh is all about pendulum monsters and pendulum summoning, the reality is that pendulums are not that popular in 2021. Pendulums have not gotten a lot of support from Konami over the past few years. Konami not only has cut back a lot on releasing powerful pendulum monsters, but also they banned Heavymetalfoes Electrumite, a very important Link 2 monster that sort of helped out the pendulum mechanic after Master Rule 4 pretty much completely ruined it. So in a lot of ways, it feels like Konami doesn't really like pendulums. They haven't printed a lot of good pendulums in the past couple of years. They banned one of the best pendulum support cards out there, and the Master Rule 5 changes didn't really revert to the pendulum changes. They're still restricted with the new Master Rule. So pendulums are not in the best spot. So I was pretty darn surprised when Konami revealed a new Link 2 monster to help out pendulums generically, and I saw that that card was very good. In today's video, I want to take a look at this new Link 2 monster that supports pendulum summoning, and I also want to take a look at a few other Dimension Force cards as well. Anyway, let's take a look at Beyond the Pendulum. So this is a Link 2 Dark Spellcaster effect monster with 1200 attack. The arrows are pretty unsurprising here. We have a down left arrow and a down right arrow. Those are two of the best arrows that you can have on a Link monster, especially one that is designed to help out the pendulum mechanic. This card takes two effect monsters to bring out, including a pendulum monster. You can only use the 2 effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect, though, says if this card is Link summoned to the extra monster zone, you can pay 1200 life points, add 1 pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. After adding it to your hand until the end of this turn, you cannot activate monster effects. Also, the effects of cards in your pendulum zone are negated until you pendulum summon. The second effect says if 2 monsters with different original levels are pendulum summoned at the same time to the zones this card points to, you can target 2 cards on the field, destroy them. So there is a lot to unpack when it comes to Beyond the Pendulum. First off, I want to mention that the summoning requirements are super easy. You don't even need 2 pendulum monsters like you did with Heavymetalfoes Electrumite. In general, pendulum decks like to play as many pendulum monsters as possible. Usually they don't play too many non-pendulums, but I know that there are some pretty good monsters that have been splashed into pendulum decks that might not necessarily be pendulum monsters. So Beyond the Pendulum actually lets you use those cards for a pretty good Link summon. As far as the first effect on this card goes, yeah, that's incredible. For 1200 life points, you get to add any pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. There is that restriction, but as long as you are able to pendulum summon after adding the card, you don't have to worry about those big downsides. As far as the final effect goes, I think this effect is really cool. Not only does it help you break boards when going second by destroying 2 cards, but also you can destroy your own cards to trigger their effects. This could be good with cards like Double Iris Magician or Purple Poison Magician. There are a lot of magician cards in general that have effects when they are destroyed. So I think Beyond the Pendulum actually makes a huge difference for pendulum decks, and I think it'll be a staple card in pendulum decks going forward. But a lot of people want to know if it's enough to make pendulums a viable mechanic in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And honestly, I'm not so sure about that. It's a bit too early to determine if this card is better or worse than Electrumite. At the moment, my first impression is that it's a very good card, and it's a pretty good replacement for Electrumite if that card is banned, but I still think that Electrumite is probably better. That's not to say that this card is bad by any means, but I don't think this card is as versatile as Electrumite. That being said, the card is still quite good, and I'm sure people are going to come up with all sorts of crazy combos using it, but we'll have to wait and see if it's enough to truly make the pendulum mechanic a competitive mechanic in the future. Next up, we have Psychic End Punisher, a brand new level 11 Synchro Monster, and I think this card has a lot of potential. Psychic End Punisher is a level 11 light psychic synchro effect monster with 3500 attack and 3500 defense. It is generically summonable with 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters, and it has 3 different abilities. While your life points are equal to or less than your opponent's, this Synchro Summoned card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, banish those targets. At the start of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference between both players' life points. So all 3 of those effects are pretty darn relevant, and keep in mind here that there aren't a lot of good level 11 Synchro Monsters, and this is especially true when you're trying to find a level 11 Synchro Monster that can be summoned using 2 monsters. The Trishula Synchro, for example, is a great level 11 Synchro, but you have to use 3 monsters to bring it out. So right now, if you want to play a level 11 Synchro Monster that's generically summonable with 2 monsters, you're pretty much stuck with just Star Eater, which honestly in 2021 is a pretty bad choice. In Sword Soul right now, I have found myself in situations where I have a Sword Soul token and a Tenyi monster that's level 7 on the board, and I wasn't really able to come up with a great extra deck monster to put in my extra deck for those situations, but I think Psychic and Punisher is actually a card I would consider playing. This card's effects are all really good. The unaffected by opponent's activated effects is really easy to pull off. Most of the time that you summon this card, you'll probably have equal life points with your opponent, but luckily, even if you are a little bit ahead, the 1,000 life point payment of the second effect can put you behind so that you can actually have that protection ability. The third and final effect on this card helps you OTK the opponent, especially when you are way behind on life points. While some players might not really care about a random level 11 Synchro Monster, I actually feel like Psychic and Punisher will see competitive play if Sword Souls are still in competition once Dimension Force releases in the TCG. At the moment though, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this card, and I can't wait to try it out once it is finally released. Lastly, let's take a look at this Divine Dragon monster, Titano Whatever. This is a level 10 light dragon effect monster with 3,000 attack and 2,000 defense. It says you can only use this card name's 2 and 3 effects once per turn each. This special summoned card cannot be destroyed by battle. You can banish 3 Divine Dragons from your graveyard and or among monsters from your face-up field, including this face-up card, destroy all cards your opponent controls. During the end phase, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of dragon monsters you control. When I first saw this card, I noticed the artwork first, and then I noticed all of the text in the text box, and then I read the effect and I was like, wow, what an absolute waste. This card isn't unplayably bad, but it's pretty disappointing, and in my opinion, it's a huge waste of this fantastic artwork. I know Konami has released bad or subpar cards in the past that have great artwork, but this one really feels weird to me because I feel like this artwork should be on a big extra deck monster that has a relevant effect, or perhaps a cool main deck monster that's really unique. As it stands right now though, while this card might be funny to use every once in a while in a dragon deck, I don't really think this card will see that much competitive play, and I don't even think it's that good in casual play either, if I'm being honest. But I did want to give it a quick shout out in today's video because I do think the artwork is quite awesome. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about the new cards revealed for Dimension Force. A few of these were a bit older, but I think they are important to talk about, and I think Dimension Force could be a pretty strong core set. I'll see you later though. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.